There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. I support what we need to do around creating and having as goals timelines around how we're going to address greenhouse gas emissions, a smart approach to think about how we can reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. We should not be selling or leasing public land for the purposes of drilling. And I think it's critically important on day one that we end any fossil fuel leases on public lands. And that I'm prepared to do on day one as a matter of executive action.
This country's got a whole lot of hot button issues that we could touch on. But what's the first thing we need to do to give us all some relief?
Well, let me start by saying this. Climate change is the single greatest threat facing our world today. That's why I am committed to passing a Green New Deal, creating clean jobs, and finally putting an end to fracking once and for all.
Kamala just don't give a frack.
Will you fully endorse the Green New Deal tonight?
I support a Green New Deal, and I will tell you why. Climate change is an existential threat to us, and we have got to deal with the reality of it. I, to my core, know that the climate crisis is representing an existential threat to who we are as human beings. We have had supposed leaders who are buying science and pushing science fiction instead of science fact, and this is to our collective peril if we don't take this matter seriously with a sense of urgency. Why I support the Green New Deal is because it does that. It puts timelines in effect. We need to invest in electric cars. We need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. All of that is in the Green New Deal. And
so will everyone have to drive electric cars?
Well, by my plan, by 2045, we will have basically zero emission vehicles, only 100%. So much of the harm we are doing to our planet is caused by us as human beings.
Certain countries have changed their dietary guidelines to reduce the consumption of red meat in light of the impact of the climate change.
Yeah.
If elected, will you be supporting change in dietary guidelines? And then how will you plan on implementing the changes so that people effectively change their diets?
Yeah, I mean, and thank you, Carol, for your work and the question. I think of the point that you're raising in a broader context, which is that as a nation, we actually have to have a real priority at the highest level of government around what we eat. We should expand what's on those cans of those things that you buy in the grocery store. We should expand the list, and included in that should be a measure of the impact on the environment. The other piece that is connected to your question and the previous question is also what we do in terms of scoring. So part of my plan is that we will require all elements of industry to actually score, and they will be scored based on the carbon imprint that their business creates. And we will score that. So again, that industry, that business, and we can all be aware of and measure the impact of their behavior on the environment.
But would you support changing the dietary guidelines?
Yes.
You know, the food pyramid, what people
yes.
to reduce red meat specifically?
Yes, I would. And
plastic straws are a big thing right now.
Yeah.
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should. Yes. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. It's really difficult to drink out of a paper straw when if you don't gulp it down immediately, it starts to bend.
Yes.
And then, the little thing catches it. And then, so we got to kind of perfect that one a little bit more. I'm not familiar with Mitch McConnell's Green New Deal.
Well, he's going to bring the Green New Deal up for a vote.
Yeah, I will vote for it. It is a resolution. I believe that the underlying principles behind it are sound and important. Climate change is truly an existential threat to our country, and you look at it in terms of how it is affecting many areas, including right here in South Carolina. You look at the offshore drilling that's taking place. All of these issues are connected.
Would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes, and I've, again, worked on that. You could talk to the folks in Santa Barbara about the work that I've done there, where it's a big problem, but it's a big problem in many areas of our country.
Right,
and yes, I would.
So
I've been doing a lot of work on the climate issue from years. Back when I was elected district attorney in San Francisco, I started one of the first environmental justice units of any DA's office in the country. I'm describing what is referred to as an environmental justice issue. Because it's about equity, it's about fairness and the environment, right? While the climate crisis touches all communities, it does not do so equally. President Biden and I are clear. All our work to address the climate crisis must be grounded in environmental justice and in equity. And that means funding community-led projects.
Would you do? Would you sue them? Sue
Yeah.
ExxonMobil?
I have sued ExxonMobil.
I mean, as president, I mean, yeah. Would you do that? Would you take them on, as with big tobacco?
Yes, I would take them, create
So they're going to
incentives
pay
for
money.
good behaviors.
I mean, they're going to pay money, the big companies.
Yes, they're going to pay money, and they're going to pay fines, and they're going to pay fees. And under my plan, there will also be a carbon fee.
But how do you make sure that they don't do what they will try to do, which is immediately pass that on to consumers?
Well, we're going to do it in a way that is about what we've always done with industry, which is to say that there has to be some connection between the fee and bad behaviors, and there has to be, and that we have to monitor whether it's going to be passed on to consumers. But I'm going to tell you that should never be the reason not to actually put a fee, and in particular, carbon fee. The challenge that we have as an administration is we got to let people know who brung it to them. That's our challenge.